Guys, good evening. Good evening. Welcome to our pre-July 4th live stream. And tonight we're going to talk about independence, real independence, not just a national independence, which is fantastic and important and critical in order to be safe and free and to be able to live the life that we have. But what does freedom mean? What does independence mean within a marriage? How do you stay married happily, deeply in love, and at the same time feel independent, feel really good about yourself, and feel really free? Okay, so we are going to talk about this tonight, and at any point feel free to share your comments in the chat under this video. I'm excited about this. We have never done a live stream on this topic ever, and this year I felt, you know what? July 4th is not just about making a barbecue, it is really about true freedom. And the reality is that as a man, the only way you can really find true freedom is not freedom from marriage, as some guys who are bitter and frustrated might say, but it is freedom within the marriage. To have a type of relationship where on the one hand you thrive as a man individually, and at the same time, you have this deep, emotional, intimate connection with your wife, with your partner, with your soulmate. And we're going to talk about this today. All right? We're going to have this conversation. We're going to talk about the two most important, almost opposite needs that a man has. We're going to talk about independence, interdependence, and codependence, what that looks like in a marriage, what is independence, what good thing independence will do for your marriage. What does it look like? What does interdependence look like? And we're going to break it down. And for guys who want to continue that conversation with me beyond the live stream tonight, I will show you how to do that as well. So the reality is that there are a lot of guys get married, and myself included. I got married in 2006, and very quickly, and sometimes it takes a while for them to experience it, but very quickly they find themselves like losing pieces of themselves. They start feeling lost. Like on the one hand, they want to be together, right? They married, they fell in love with this woman because they were aligned on the same level, whether it's philosophically or spiritually or on a religious level. And then over time, they find themselves being lost, where they're like a piece of them starts dying, or a piece of them is not present, or a part of you may not feel free or safe within your marriage to be yourself, to be truly yourself, whatever that means to be yourself, whether it's on an intimate level, whether it's on an emotional level, whatever it is. And the thing is that, let me know in the comments if this happened to you, where you feel that a part of you is like sort of starting to die. I mean, you're still alive and well, but a part of your personality, a part of your habits, a part of your time freedom, a part of your hobbies starts disappearing, and in the name of and for the sake of the marriage, because of the relationship, because of your responsibilities, because you are a provider, because you are a parent, you're a father. But I've seen this very often. I've started seeing it for myself, which is when I recognize it. But then as I spoke to and interviewed hundreds and hundreds of guys, I saw that this was true, that they were like finding a piece of them dying. And I'm wondering, from the guys watching this, including the guys who are going to be watching the recording, let me know in the comments, do you find that a part of you is sort of, I use the word dying just to bring up the point, but it means a part of you is just not present, or part of you don't feel you can't really express your feelings or your opinions in your marriage in a way that doesn't cause drama, in a way that actually brings you and your wife together, because it's normal for a couple to have differences. But if you, over a period of time, start feeling like you can't express yourself, that's going to rob your independence. It's going to mess around, with your happiness, to put it in a very simple way. So, and the thing is that guys have two, like I said before, we have two almost opposite needs. On the one hand, and this is true for almost every guy. There are some women like this, but this is predominantly true for men. And we're speaking to men, so let's talk to men. Right? We're all guys over here. on the one hand, there's a need for me, for me to be unique, for me to contribute something important to the world. On the other hand, there is the part of me and the part of you that just wants to be connected to somebody else, whether it's to our spouses, whether it's to our children, whether it's in our faith-based community. There is a desire to be connected, where it's not about me, where I am part of something else. And this is an important piece to have in place, because this type of this balance, in order to truly be happy, in order to truly be fulfilled, in order to thrive and really be happy in your marriage as well, but also be happy on your own, you have to have this balance where on the one hand, there's something like you feel like you are, whether you're building a career or you're building a business, or it's not about financial, maybe just something about religion or spirituality, or you're just building your health, or you're building your personal development, or you're building yourself as a dad. A guy really thrives and does really well when he has a goal, when he has a vision, when he has a purpose, when we're driven by a mission that is bigger than us, but we find ourselves in a unique position to contribute something to that vision, whether it's a service we're providing, whether it's a product that we're making, whether it's the type of parent we are becoming, whether it's the type of health or self-awareness that we are developing. It is very, very healthy for a guy to have it. Not only is it healthy, let me know if you relate to this, for the guys who've been doing it, it is actually very good for your marriage. It is very good for your intimacy. It's good for your relationship. You bring a lot more energy with you. You bring a lot more confidence. You can rebuild trust so much faster and keep trust. And you can have a much deeper emotional connection and leadership and express love to your wife when you feel really good about yourself. Let me know if you relate to this, if you know what I'm talking about in the comments, where you know, like, if I was thriving, if you're thriving in your business or in your job, and or as in other areas of your life, that you actually bring more happiness, you bring more joy, you bring more love to the people around you, primarily to the people that you really care about most, which is usually your wife and kids, hopefully, right? So it is very important to have those areas, because in order for a guy to recharge, he needs to have that safety of a warm and loving environment, of a spouse that loves him and adores him and respects him. This is not an immature need. It is a vital need, and it actually fuels the cycle of productivity and what I call the cycle of success, where on the one hand, you're very independent and successful throughout your day in what you do, and on the other hand, you have a safe place to come home to a woman that supports your dreams, that supports you, that cares about you, that loves you, that will encourage you when you're going through a rough day. So it is important to have both of those pieces. And before we go further in this, I want to hear from you guys. Do you relate to this? Do you relate both to the problem, or do you relate hopefully to the solution? Right? I just want to gauge the temperature of the guys watching this live stream now. And I'm going to eventually check the comments, whether it's a bit later or after the live stream. But let's talk about, again, the theme, independence, and explain what is independence, what is interdependence, what is codependence. And I'm not going to use any clinical terms and medical or psychological definitions. I'm going to give you a simple way and then a practical way to understand it, and to understand the impact that it has on a relationship. So it's just a cute way of just, I just thought about it just 2 minutes before we went live. I was just thinking about, okay, how do I explain these three things? So independence is two people walking who have nothing to do with each other. They're walking. They may be next to each other, they may be on two different sides of the street. Doesn't matter. That's independence. Is I'm independent from you. I don't have anything to do with you. You don't impact me. I don't impact you. I don't really care if something happens to you, and you don't really care if something happens to me. And I don't mean to be crude, but I'm just trying to make a point. Okay, are you with me? Hopefully nobody's insulted. I'm trying to make a point. Okay, we're all good. All right. So interdependence is where you're sort of like holding hands. You two individuals walking together, dependent on each other. You both bring something to the table that the other one wants, but you both can walk on your own 2 feet. You just happen to reach out and say, hey, let me hold your hand as I go through life and live this life together with you and build this something with you. And in this context, we're talking about interdependence in a marriage. So it's, you and your wife holding hands, figuratively speaking, walking through life, walking through the challenges, walking through raising kids, walking through the, finances. Where should we live? Should we buy this house? Can we afford this car? Let's find some time together, go on vacation, go on a date, go shopping, whatever that is, right? So that is interdependence. Again, independence is you're walking on your own, nothing to do with each other. Interdependence is you're walking on your own 2 feet. Pay close attention to that. But you're holding hands. It's a decision you make to hold somebody's hand. Codependence, the way I define codependence, and again, it's not clinical terms, I'm trying to help you get to the point of what we're talking about. Codependence is where you are, and this is an unhealthy dependence, this is where you are leaning against each other. So it's like you're walking together on the street, and it's like two unhealthy people, or one unhealthy person, but the other person is supporting them so they shouldn't fall. In other words, if in a codependent marriage, what happens is the couple is leaning up against each other, and each one is robbing the other one from being fully them, from being 100%, standing on their own, because what happens is they're leaning. They're not walking, hand in hand, holding hands. They are leaning against each other, and if one of them moves, again, we're speaking in an emotional sense, we're speaking in a figurative sense, I'm not speaking in a literal sense, but, imagine a couple leaning against each other, and if one of them moves, the other one falls, right? So this one is forced to stay here, because this one is going to collapse if the other one is not holding them up, okay? Let me know if you're with me in the comments, if this is making sense. So the challenge and what happens, and the pain and the frustration that happens in a codependent marriage, and I'm not here to diagnose anybody with codependence, it's really none of my business. I'm trying to make a point, because we're talking about the theme, July 4th, independence. What does it mean, independence in a marriage? Well, in order to understand independence in a marriage, you have to understand what is codependence, what is a lack of independence, right? Not being independent. What is the opposite of that? There's only one way to really crystallize the truth about the relationship you're trying to build, and the life that you're trying to have, and the marriage you're trying to have. You really have to understand this, okay? Let me know are you with me so far? You guys are getting this? Give me a number 10 if you totally get it. Don't be embarrassed to write a 6 or a 7. It just means I may go a little bit slower, okay? And a little bit clearer. And what happens is, over time, if you are in a marriage where you keep giving a piece of yourself that you really don't want to give, you want to just hold your wife's hand, you just want to walk through life together, but you find that you don't have a choice, whether it's an argument that happens or an explosion that happens, which means, like an emotional explosion between the two of you, or another curveball that she throws at you, or maybe that you throw at her, and over time you start leaning against each other and hurting each other, with or without intention doesn't matter. But what does matter, guys and brothers, this is the most important piece, is that when you are, taking something from her, or she's taking something from you, which you really, really don't want to give, which you're really not emotionally prepared to give, whether it's the time, or whether it's an argument, whether it's a conversation which is not going to be useful or productive, it's a type of conversation which is just going to end up back, stuck. In a codependent marriage, over time, as you give that, again, figuratively speaking, a part of you dies. The part, the innocence, the part of you that could just be carefree and laughing and happy and feeling good about yourself, over time dies. And some guys, they develop this sense of, well, I'm doing this for the marriage, I'm fighting for the marriage, so I'm doing whatever I can for the marriage, I'm doing whatever she wants me to do for the marriage, I'm cleaning around the house, I'm doing things for her, and I'm just doing whatever she asks me to do. And it's all in the name of the marriage, but what is really happening at the core of you is that a piece of you is dying. A piece of you feels frustrated. A piece of you feels like, you're not really getting anywhere. You're not truly building the intimacy and the connection and the trust and the friendship that you really, really want. And it's important to recognize it, because there's no way you're gonna, there's no way you're gonna extricate yourself and get out of this situation if you don't, understand that, right? So, how many of you guys are still with me? I see a 10 and a 7. Okay, perfect. So I'll go a bit slower over here, and just more guys will benefit. So, what does it mean to have purpose, in a marriage, independence? So let's talk about first independence for you. And we did cover a bit of it in the beginning, in the first few minutes of our training tonight. But I want to reiterate and go a little bit deeper. It is important to have a big goal. And when men speak about goal, very often they may talk about a financial goal. Or a lot of guys out there in self-development, what they're really talking about is financial. But that's not necessarily true. Goals can be spiritual, like I said. They can be psychological. They can be being a better parent. It could be developing greater awareness, greater intuition, being more fit. And, of course, it could be something within your career or your self-employment and whatnot. It can be in a spiritual sense, whether it's in your church or your house of worship or in your community, or it can be just service that you do on some other charity, which isn't necessarily religious based. So there's important to, and it's very critical for a husband to have it. And like I said before, it actually contributes. It actually contributes a lot to the marriage. It gives a lot more energy. It brings a lot more excitement, because when the time you're away, you're energized by what you're doing. You're excited by what you're doing. You're not stuck in the drudgery of doing something or working for someone which you don't really have your heart in. And if you are aligned with yourself, and you're aligned with, as close as possible to the place where you believe, your God wants you to be, then you will be happy, or just a human nature. Now, what happens is you can take that positivity that you get. Let me know if this resonates, if you guys are getting this. You can take that positivity, that positive energy, and you can reinvest that into the marriage with more patience, with more energy, with more motivation. But here's the thing you do have to understand about this, and that is that purpose alone is not going to fix your marriage. Again, just having purpose, just having vision, and I know some guys commented over here that they've lost their vision, and like I said, that is very common. It happens very often. But just getting that vision back doesn't necessarily translate into a better marriage, and that will depend on how much your marriage has suffered, how much marriage cancer you had. And if you're new and you've never heard about marriage cancer, check out a couple other videos in this Facebook group, and mainly in the guide section, or just scroll up and you'll see me talk about marriage cancer. But we're not going to do that over here tonight in our July 4th live stream. But it depends on how much marriage cancer you have. So if you have a very small amount of marriage cancer, or you just don't have marriage cancer, you just have some marriage challenges, or what I call sometimes a marriage hiccup or a marriage virus, yeah, so getting a purpose back may re-energize the marriage. But if you have real marriage cancer, what you're going to find is that you can't really re-energize the marriage. It not only it won't fix the marriage, but what's going to happen is you're going to find your energy and your purpose being drained by the marriage. How many of you guys are going through this, or have gone through this in the past, where that your energy, your focus, your concentration at work is, for example, is being reduced, or is really being eclipsed by the worry you have about your marriage, by the stress that you're experiencing of what is going on in your relationship, or about what is not going on in your relationship, what your wife is doing or saying, what she's doing behind your back, what she's thinking about you without really telling you, right? That itself can drain your purpose. So it's unfortunately, there are a lot of men's gurus, or I don't know, some relationship gurus or marriage fixing guys that and maybe they have good intentions, but some of the approaches out there are like, you got to have purpose, you got to have drive, you got to have vision. And like I said in the past 20 minutes tonight with you guys, there is an element of truth in it, but it is far, far from a complete strategy, because not only it won't fix the marriage on its own if you have real marriage cancer, but you're also going to find that you are losing your drive and your purpose, and it's harder to focus at work, and it's harder to have confidence, and you have less energy, and you have less motivation as a result of this stress that is happening in your relationship. How many of you guys have experienced that? And let me know in the comments. And if you haven't, good for you. That means that your marriage cancer is not really advanced, and that's a good sign. The problem is that a lot of guys don't recognize marriage cancer until it's really bad. So that's why I have a lot of training videos of you that talk about marriage cancer, so you can see it early on. And again, I'm just referring to it, but we're not going to get into it tonight. Okay? But to sort of put it together, a difficult marriage is going to drain your energy. It is going to drain your focus and your concentration from your purpose. So to truly be independent, to truly be successful, you do have to have the interdependence of a healthy relationship. You do have to have, and I'll talk about that in a minute, what that means, maybe 2 minutes, but you do have to have simply speaking, the success in your marriage. You have to have marital success. You have to have success in your marriage, in your intimacy, in your emotional connection with your wife. You really have to have it if you're going to have an amazing life. If you're going to be purpose-driven, if you want to be a man and you want to accomplish, you want to build something, whether it's something in business, whether it's something, with a religious goal, whether it's a financial goal, whether it's just a product or a service or write a book, or do something which is near and dear to your heart, or become an amazing father, it will not be possible to do it if you don't have, if in your most important intimate connection, which is with your wife, if you don't find the comfort over there, and the connection, and the friendship, and the love, and the trust, and the safety within the confines of your relationship, within your bedroom, within your conversations with your wife, if you don't find that friend that you had when you first fell in love, it is going to be nearly impossible or very difficult to be able to be an amazing father. You may do things like an amazing father, but you will find yourself, losing patience, or losing energy, or being distracted, or being a little stressed, even though you may go through the roles and the motions of being an incredible father. And I'm not challenging your intention. I'm not challenging your integrity. I'm certainly not challenging your character. But on a tactical, strategic level, you need to unlock the energy of a great marriage in order to truly be independent. So it's sort of like a dance over here. It's a balance where, in order to truly thrive as an individual man, as a goal-oriented man, as a man who has purpose, you have to care for and understand how to unlock and diagnose your relationship, your most important relationship. So, which brings us to the next point, and I just want to check in with you guys over here. Scale 1 to 10. 10 means total makes sense, and 7 means please, explain more, and 3 means you're lost. And if you got a 3, then you may just go back and listen to the recording, because, you can still comment 3. No, this is a safe place, but what I'm trying to say is, like, this is deep stuff, and in order to turn around a marriage, in order to build a long-term happy relationship, you do have to take the time to study what is going on. You really do, because otherwise there's no magic pill or potion that's just gonna, poof, just turn around your relationship. So listen to the recording, and you'll find yourself understanding it more. And if you're really new, you probably should listen to some other recordings as well about marriage cancer and about the 3 pillars and what we've been through. We have so many trainings over here, free training. So what does it mean, independence within the marriage? So a practical thing of independence in the marriage is to know when to filter your wife out. This is a very important piece, guys. It is important to know when to filter your wife out. In other words, you will often find that your wife will give you input, or ask you to do things, or tell you, if you do certain things, our marriage is going to be better. And then you will find over time, over months, and usually years, it usually takes a longer period of time for guys to pick up on it, that your wife is giving you information that is somehow not helpful to the relationship. it is not conducive, it is not productive, it is not having a positive impact on your connection, on your relationship, on the trajectory of your marriage. And this is not deliberate. Sometimes it is. Most times women don't do it deliberately, but very often if a woman is frustrated in a marriage, she's not able to give her husband real helpful tips and feedback how to be a better husband. And the mistakes a lot of guys make is they become, interdependent and really becomes codependent because they're leaning on their wife mentally, they're leaning on her psychologically and saying, all right, Jessica, just tell me, what do I need to do in order to be the husband that will make you happy, or in order for you to be happy, in order for us to be good, in order for us to have this, fix our marriage or to have a better marriage. And if you don't have marriage cancer, that will work, okay? But if you do have marriage cancer, you have those fundamental issues of, where your wife doesn't fully feel and trust your love, and, your wife is stuck with the wrong opinion of you, and all that stuff that marriage cancer comes along with, what's going to happen is she is not going to give you helpful information. She's going to give you superficial information. Many women at that stage actually believe that you should figure it out, and, this may have happened to you, where your wife says, oh, you should know what to do. You're the man, right? How many of you guys watching it right now, answer the question, please. How many of you guys experience where your wife says, you should know what to do. I shouldn't have to tell you. You're the husband. You're the man. You should figure it out. Okay? That's one reason why you can't take her input, because deep down she believes you should know you should know what to do. So she's frustrated and she doesn't want to share everything. Or another reason is because she's not able to, because what she wants is a feeling. Women want to feel a certain way, and they're so in it that they don't even see it. So if she may give you a list and say, if you do my list of these 5, 10, 15, 20 things, I would feel better, or we would be doing better, or our relationship will be doing better. But the reality is that it's just nearly impossible for a woman to figure out what has to happen in order for her to feel certain things. So therefore she may give you a list. Did this happen to you? Tell me, did this ever happen to you where your wife gives you a list and you do the list and then nothing changes? Did it ever happen? Did it ever happen that you do the list that she asks you to do? Go back in time if you need to, and things get worse, or she tells you did it the wrong way, or she just keeps on complaining about the same thing, right? It's another reason why you have to have the independence of understanding when you have to filter out her input for her own best interest, not because you want to ignore her, not because you want to hurt her, not because you don't care about her, not because you don't love her. It's just because she doesn't necessarily know what needs to be done to improve the relationship. And this is a mistake, just over 90% of marriage counselors make the same mistake, where they don't have the clarity of understanding what it takes to turn around a relationship. So they just keep guessing, or they keep on, I speak about this in other videos, they keep on focusing on symptoms, and they keep on telling you got to ask her for her feedback and ask her for advice, without realizing that in her heart, she's chasing a feeling, and she has no clue how to get that feeling, and she's not even aware of it. And if you point it out to her, she's actually going to feel insulted, or in her heart she feels you should figure it out, or in her heart, get this, she believes that she already tried. She believes that you're too late. She believes that you ignored her for so long while she was putting her full heart and her full attention and her full interest into the relationship. She believes that you weren't. Not every woman is like that, but if your wife, let me know in the comments, did you ever hear your wife give you a hint that I already tried? Not a hint. Some women are very clear. I already tried. All right, David, I already tried to work on this relationship. I already put my heart into this marriage. I already gave X number of months or years into our marriage, and I don't want to do it anymore. So therefore, it's another reason why you have to filter out her opinions. You have to filter out her lists, her things that she's asking you to do, because quite frankly, in many relationships where there is marriage cancer, the woman already believes that she already invested her heart into the marriage. So if you're going to try to twist her arm and figuratively speaking, and like pressure her to work on the marriage with you, either she's going to flat out disagree. You're actually lucky if that happens, because what's even worse, you're actually lucky. You know why? Because if it's even worse is she'll make believe she's working on the marriage, only for you to discover a couple of months later, or maybe a couple of weeks, or a couple of years, that her heart wasn't really in it. She was just doing it because she felt pressure from you. But in her heart, she believed that she already invested the effort. And what happens is, once a woman feels that she already invested her effort, her best effort into the marriage, and that you woke up too late, what's going to happen is she's not going to give you helpful information. She's not going to be able to appreciate your effort. She's not going to be able to, throw her full heart into working on the marriage with you. So the result of that is that back to independence, you do need to have the independence to know and say, no, what she's saying is not going to work for us because of these reasons. Even, I just gave you 4 different reasons. Even one of them, it would be good enough to sabotage the ability of the couple to work on the marriage together. Now listen carefully. Okay, we're going deep over here. There is a time and place for a couple to work on a relationship together. Does that make sense to you guys? Right? Let me know if you get this. There is a time and place for a couple to work on a relationship together. The problem is most guys do that and they try to work on that prematurely. They try to work on that before there has been an opening, before there has been a breakthrough, before there has been a reconnection of the heart. And before you have that, establishing that emotional connection, any attempt you have to involve your wife in the process is going to end up being a frustrating one, if you have marriage cancer. And so just doing things that she asks you to do, like helping around the house, paying bills, being a good dad, doing whatever she says, will not improve your marriage. Not only it won't improve it, chances are it's going to make it more difficult because you're going to be more resentful, more frustrated, and possibly more bitter as a result of doing so much for the marriage without getting anything in return. You guys following me? Is this making sense to you guys? Okay. Another mistake guys make, another area of independence you got to have, is to stop trying to convince her of your changes. Stop trying to, codependently, push on her and show her your changes. If you have to convince someone of your changes, then you have not changed. Simple. All right? If you have to convince somebody that you've changed, then you haven't changed. And I'm not saying you haven't changed. I'm not judging you. I'm saying in their mind, listen carefully. It's very easy. I'll tell you what. It's easy to listen to a couple of live streams that I do, and to choose to get insulted by a couple of things I say, because I say things the way they are. Okay, the way I see them. But if it could be you have changed. Let me qualify that. But if in your wife's mind you have to show her you change, you have to convince her you change, or you're arguing with your wife over your changes, then in her mind, and what goes on in her mind is very, very, very important actually, then that means it hasn't changed. To her, it means you haven't changed. And that's the reason why a lot of marriages are sabotaged, because men don't understand these fundamental principles of independence, of owning your value, right? And owning value is really beyond the scope of our live stream tonight. It's a whole entire strategy we use with my clients, showing them how to do that. But the purpose of tonight is to help you understand where independence starts in the marriage transformation process. It starts with understanding how not to involve her, how not to exhaust yourself, how not to knock yourself out doing things for her, paying for things, or just following all her instructions, hoping that it's going to do something for the marriage, because it won't. If you have marriage cancer, it will not help your marriage. So we're going to wrap up with this, and then for guys who want to continue this conversation with me, I'll let you know how you can do that. But there's one important piece I want to finish with over here, and that is interdependence. What is interdependence? Interdependence in a relationship is really the thing we speak about a lot. I never call it interdependence because we talk about the actual strategy. But in the context of July 4th, subconscious communication, the ability to communicate on a subconscious level directly into your wife's brain, to change her opinion, to change the picture she has of you. We spoke about this many times. I'm going to say briefly over here. Women over time in a painful marriage start building a picture of their husband, which may or may not be true. And that's completely besides the point. Like, it really doesn't matter if the picture she has of you is not true. But let's say she has a picture, and that picture of you is that you're manipulative, or that you're selfish, or that you're controlling, or that your changes are not real, and that you're never going to change, or whatever that picture is. You're not a good listener, you just want sex, whatever it is that her thing is, right? What's going to happen is that picture gets cemented in her brain, and then she operates from that perspective, and her feelings get stuck, and her opinions get formed based on that. Simple English, if she has the wrong picture of you stuck in her head, she's going to be stuck. And that is the beginning of changing a marriage. In order to really turn around a marriage, you really have to understand what is that picture that's stuck in her head, and why is she seeing that picture. And I know that tonight's live stream, we don't have enough time to dedicate to truly break this down. We have done this in many other training sessions over here. But the key of subconscious communication is an interdependent skill where you know how to interact with her in a way that you can read her subconscious communication, where you can read your own subconscious communication. You can intercept what is going on between you, because I know the past 2 minutes I went a little bit too deep over here, but let's make it simple, all right? The mistake a lot of guys make in a codependent way is they use logical communication. They believe that if they could only explain something to their wives, that you believe, right? Let's speak to the one person watching the video, right? Personally, I'm talking to you. If you believe that you can logically convince your wife of whatever it is you want her to convince her of, you shouldn't separate, you should get back together, she should become more open to you, she should be more expressive, she should be more loving, she should be more intimate, you should have a better emotional connection, whatever it is that you want her to agree to, right? If you believe you can do that with logical communication, that is a typical form of a codependence, because it's a complete misunderstanding of the way women operate, and you're basically putting pressure on her without realizing it. And because the reason for that is because women operate in a subconscious communication way, which means they first look at a situation. Just in this case, you are the situation. You're the husband, right? You're the husband. And she looks at the husband and she has an opinion of you. That opinion is the most important thing. If you try to argue with that opinion with logic, I promise you're going to stay stuck. You cannot unstuck yourself by logic. You have to understand how her feelings operate, how her opinions are formed, how she thinks. Basically, in simple English, you have to be able to read her mind. Okay? I'm just trying to make a point. I'm saying that. You have to be able to see things from her perspective, and only then can you really interact with her on a subconscious level. It is really, really important, because if her opinion of you is stuck, her feelings are going to be stuck, her decisions are going to be stuck, and her logic is going to be stuck. Which is why, I'll throw in another interesting thing, women might say things that don't make sense about you, about the relationship, about the marriage, about the past. This is why women will be stuck in the past and say things which to you don't make sense. Why are we still talking about this 5 years later, 10 years later? Because women, your wife, if she's stuck, is not talking to you. Listen carefully. And what I'm about to tell you, you won't even find in many of the other paid programs. Now, I put this out in the free trainings because it's so important to understand. Listen carefully. If your wife is stuck, she's not talking to you. If she has the wrong opinion of you, she's basically having that wrong opinion because she's talking to a memory of you. You get that? Do you get that? She's talking to a memory of you, a memory that has accumulated over time, and that memory is who she's talking to. And that's a big mistake a lot of guys make, and where you have to start with your independence of understanding this, understanding to cut back on the damage at least, even if you don't have a full-blown strategy, but at the very least to cut back on the damage of talking to her logic in order to change her feelings, in order to change her opinions. Because that doesn't work. And it doesn't mean she's not logical. It just means within the area of an intimate relationship, even if she's very smart, successful, in her business, in her career, in her job, her work, or she's bright in academically, but within the intimate relationship, women's decisions are not made based. You guys didn't fall in love based on logic. You know what I mean? You fell in love because you fell in love, and in order to fall back in love, you have to fall back in love. In a similar way. It'll never be the exact way, obviously, but it's not going to be through logic. Anyway, so wow, it looks like we went longer than usual, but like I said, for guys who want to continue this conversation with me, I'll show you how to do that, but here's one condition. You have to be with, there's so many guys in this Facebook group, and I cannot spend my time talking to everyone. If you want to speak with me, you have to be the type of guy that really wants to have a long-term, happy relationship that is balanced, that you're independent, you're interdependent with her, you are bringing out your own best version of yourself. At the same time, you're showing up as the best version of a husband for the marriage. This is not, if you want to continue the conversation with me, it's not for guys who are really, deep down okay with the ups and the downs in their marriage, and sometimes it's painful and they don't like it, and then it's good and then they're happy. But it's for guys who truly understand that they don't want to be in the cycle of the ups and the downs, like I say. Because the fact is, unfortunately, a lot of guys, including guys in this group, are really okay with okay, up and down, and I'm managing. It's bad now, but it's going to be good in another month or two. If that's you, that's fine. You can enjoy the videos, but there's no point to continue a conversation. But if you want a permanent strategy and an understanding of a process to actually become independent while being free within the marriage and contributing to the marriage and contributing in a healthy, happy way, just type freedom. Just comment freedom under this video. Just write the word freedom, and somebody will be in touch with you to discuss, to continue this conversation and see, does it make sense to get together and really brainstorm about hey, what's the process? Would it work for you? How would it work for you? How to customize it for you? And to see if we can even help you. So, like I said, guys who want to explore the conversation, you can write freedom under this video. I would love to see your comments. What are your takeaways from this video? What is the biggest aha moment you had from this video? And I wish all of you and your families a happy July 4th. And I wish you really true independence where you're thriving in your marriage, where you're happy with yourself, and your wife knows the real you. Your wife can see the real you. She can see the person she fell in love with, and she's not stuck with the image of you based on things that have happened between you over the years. That's the biggest blessing I can give you, and really that's the biggest holiday you can have, because if your marriage is fine, if your marriage is successful, and you're finding the connection with your wife and the respect and the love, and that friendship, you're going to enjoy every holiday, whether it's July 4th or Thanksgiving or any other religious holidays. Time spent with your family is going to be that much more fun, simply much more fun. With your kids, it's going to be more fun because they're going to see what it means to have a thriving marriage. They're going to see what it means for mom and dad to be in a good place. And kids are smart. They pick up on the drama. They pick up on the emotional disconnect. They pick up on the pain. So, that is probably the biggest, happy July 4th. When I say it, what I'm meaning is true independence for you, a true healthy interdependence with your wife, a freedom from codependence, and again, for guys who want to have the conversation with me, you can just type freedom and we will take it from there. God bless you, stay safe, and enjoy your holiday.